Okay, we are going to start dividing fractions. We're going to first look at just dividing fractions and whole numbers, and then whole numbers and fractions. So I have some steps listed here. We're going to start with dividing a fraction by a whole number. So my example here is 2/3 divided by 2. So we're going to keep that first fraction the same. Then we're going to change our division symbol to multiplication. Okay, so once you can multiply fractions, you can divide fractions. So we changed it to multiplication. And then my second fraction, I wrote it as a whole number, and then I found the reciprocal. Or I'm sorry, I wrote it as a fraction. And then I found the reciprocal. Okay, so reciprocal, let's talk about what that means. So for the reciprocal, what the reciprocal means is that you're just switching the numerator and the denominator. So I switch the numerator and the denominator. So let's say, for example, I'm finding the reciprocal of 2/1. The reciprocal would be 1/2. I'm not putting an equal sign because 2/1 does not equal 1/2. Okay? If I said find the reciprocal of 1/2, I would switch and get 2/1. Again, they are not equal, so I'm not using an equal sign. I just used an arrow to show the reciprocal there. So let's go ahead and try this over here. So 5/6 divided by 1/3, divided by 3. That 3 becomes 3/1. And so I have 5/6. I'm going to change this to multiplication. And then instead of 3/1, I'm going to write this as 1/3. So now I have 5/18, which is already in simplest form. Okay, let's try another one. 3/4 divided by 2. That 2 is 2/1. When you have a whole number, you can always just put a 1 underneath to write it as a fraction. So I have 3/4, changing this to multiplication, and that 2/1 becomes 1/2. So I have 3/8. That's as simplified as it gets. So I'm going to leave it as 3/8. All right. Now let's look at dividing a whole number by a fraction. So we're going to start with the whole number, divide by a fraction. So I'm going to take my whole number and write it as a fraction by putting a 1 underneath. I'm going to change my division to multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of the second fraction, and then multiply. So on this first one, I'm going to change that 3 to 3/1. Okay, 3 divided by 1 is 3, so that's why that works. I'm going to change division to multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. We could just multiply straight across. 3 times 4 and get 12, and 1 times 3 is 3. Well, remember, fractions are just division problems. So 12 divided by 3 is just going to be 4. Okay. So the next one, 5 divided by 1/5. So I'm going to write 5 as 5/1. I'm going to switch this to multiplication. And then that 1/5, I'm going to change that to 5/1. So now I just have 5 times 5.